This is the story of Jackson, the last surviving member of his family. His sisters had withered away in their beds, their bodies found pale and twisted. His brother, a strong swimmer, had drowned in a shallow creek. His parents, their faces contorted in frozen terror, had perished in the night. To the townsfolk, it was a tragedy whispered about in markets and bars. To the police, it was a string of accidents that made no sense. To Jackson, it was the slow unraveling of his family until he stood alone, carrying a grief heavier than his small shoulders could bear. He sought comfort with his uncle Eliot, the only blood relative still breathing. But Eliot looked at Jackson with disgust as though the boy were cursed. One evening, Eliot shoved a sack into Jackson's hands, told him to take his bad luck elsewhere, and slammed the door shut forever. Cast out, Jackson wandered the empty streets of the American city that seemed older than history itself. The lamp posts flickered and the air smelled faintly of rusted iron. He finally collapsed near an abandoned fountain in the center square where weeds sprouted between the cracked stones. Sleep dragged him down, though uneasiness gnawed at him. In the stillness of midnight, he felt vibrations beneath the stone, subtle yet steady, like the faint heartbeat of something vast hidden under the ground. As his eyelids fluttered, he swore he heard the city breathing. Jackson was 13, a boy swallowed by misery, clothed only in rags that clung to his thin frame. His hair was unkempt, tangled like the weeds growing between the cobblestones. His bare feet were bruised from wandering streets that never slept. Once he had a family, a mother who sang lullabies, a father who told stories of better days, a little sister who clung to his hand at night. But one by one, they disappeared, not stolen by war, not taken by plague. No, the city itself had eaten them. Its walls hid unspeakable things, its alleys carried whispers that bent men's minds. And the boy, too weak to fight back, too small to resist, was left alone. The only relative he had left was his uncle, Eliot, a man whose eyes carried no warmth. When Jackson begged for shelter, Eliot sneered. "This house is not yours. The city will decide if you live. Sleep outside." So Jackson curled against cold stone, alone in the street. The moon hung pale above, its light shrouded by crumbling towers. He heard the groan of the old city, the scrape of something large against stone. The silence was a lie. The night here always belonged to the feeders. Shadows deepened, the air thinned, and then he saw them. They stepped from nothingness itself, as though tearing holes in the world, grotesque, human and beast combined. Their bodies stretched unnaturally tall, spines bent in crooked arcs, wings cracked open, leathery and jagged, dripping dark fluid. Their mouths too wide, too wet glistened with blood that was not their own. Their eyes were pits of hunger, glowing faintly with crimson fire. Jackson froze behind a shattered pillar, his breath shallow. The creatures prowled, their claws dragging sparks across the stone. One sniffed the air, its head jerking as though broken at the neck. Then he saw what they had come for. A woman screamed from a broken house. Her door was smashed aside as they dragged her out by her hair. Her cries tore the night. No one answered. No one ever answered. They swarmed her beneath the statues of forgotten gods. The city seemed to watch, the stone faces smiling as the creatures ripped her apart. Her blood sprayed the ground, hissing against the stones as though the earth itself was drinking her. Jackson's eyes stung. He wanted to scream, but his voice was gone. The city was alive. The city was feeding. And tonight, he understood he would never escape it. This is the story of an ancient city that eats its inhabitants. Jackson pressed himself tight against the cold stone wall, his nails clawing at the crack. And then the air rippled, warmth, a hum. "Do not fear, child," a voice whispered. Jackson spun, eyes darting. "Who's there?" The night tore open with light. From the dark rose a figure cloaked in shadow and flame, its eyes as old as mountains. Jackson shielded his face, trembling. "You are not meant to perish," the voice thundered. "You are meant to end it." "And what?" "The hunger, the curse. This city that devours its children." A hand of molten fire stretched toward him. "Take it or watch everything burn." Jackson hesitated, terror choking him. But he thought of his mother, his father, his sister. Faces swallowed by this endless nightmare, and slowly he reached out. When their hands touched, fire surged and gold. His body shook, but he did not collapse. "You are chosen," the being said. "You are no longer prey. You are the weapon." The feeders hissed, blood dripping from their jaws. Jackson no longer trembled. The first beast leapt. Jackson raised his hand, flame burst forth. It crumbled into ash. The others wailed, echoing across the city. The stones groaned. The boy had awakened. The city screamed with the clash of battle. Doors slammed, windows shattered, bones cracked in the dark. The feeders poured from alleys and rooftops, swarming like a tide of wings and claws. Jackson stood in the square, fists blazing, his ragged clothes clinging to him. He no longer looked like a child. The first wave struck 6 at once, claws and teeth snapping. Jackson raised his arms. Fire roared outward, searing them into ash, but more came. They crawled from gutters, spilled from walls, and tore down from rooftops. Jackson spun, striking with fists of light. Each fell, but the city itself writhed. Streets split open, statues bled, walls wept red. From the cracks, larger horrors slithered out. One lunged, its wings blotting the moon. Jackson staggered, sweat streaming. He was still just a boy. "Do not falter," the voice boomed. "The city feeds on fear. Deny it." His knees buckled, flames dimming. He thought of his sister's laugh, his parents' gentle faces, and Eliot's cruelty. The woman's screams from tonight, rage surged. Jackson roared, unleashing a storm of fire. The wave tore across the square, ripping monsters to pieces. The ground shook, the walls screamed. The city groaned, its hunger denied, but deeper within. Something stirred, something older, the true master of the curse. This is the ancient city that eats its inhabitants. Jackson limped through streets drenched in blood and ash. His skin burned, glowing with fiery scars, but he walked on. At the center rose a cathedral of bone and shadow. Its doors yawned like the throat of a beast. Inside waited the master feeder. It rose from the altar, wings vast as night. Its face flickered, half human, half beast, mouths dripping blood. The cries of the dead wailed within it. Jackson trembled. He was still only 13. But the voice thundered, "You are vengeance. You are the end." With a cry, Jackson charged. The beast lunged, claws raking the air. Jackson struck with fire, fists blazing. The cathedral shook. Stone cracked, windows shattered, shadows screamed. The beast shrieked, wings shredding the roof. Jackson's body blazed like a torch, every scar burning brighter. He leapt, striking again and again. The monster faltered, but it was endless. Its claws cut deep, sending him crashing to the altar. Blood filled his mouth. He staggered up, fire flickering. He remembered his family and the city's endless hunger. With one last cry, he hurled himself forward. His hand blazed brighter than the sun. He drove it into the monster's chest. Light erupted. The beast convulsed, bursting into ash and screaming souls. The cathedral collapsed. The city howled. Streets split. Towers crumbled. But Jackson walked out, scarred yet alive. Dawn rose, painting ruins in gold. The cursed city was silent. The boy in rags had become its savior. The city that ate its inhabitants was finally dead.